Welcome to our amazing coin collection, Glowing Star. Assalamu alaikum, and a very warm welcome to all coin lovers, collectors, and treasure hunters. Sparkles Aj Hum Opkli American Coin Collection Ki, Kuch, Fascinating Coins Lekar I Hain, Jahan Har Coin Upne Design, History, Mint Mark or Unique Characteristics Ki, Sath Ekalag Kahani Bayan Karta Hai. In coins ko surf pocket change samajkar ignore na Karen. Kyunki har Purana coin upne andar American history or numismatic journey kaik ch ho. Sahisa ch hupe ho to hai. Aj key sequence main hum Roosevelt Dime par cause tor par focus carange. In coins par liberty, in God we trust, United States of America, PLURIBUS UNUM or one dime J's historic inscriptions Nazar at Hain. Har coin ko hum usk design, composition, mint mark, condition, rarity or collector interest key perspective C Samchen. Cause tor par d mint mark whale coins ko carefully dekhen. Or Joninj key mint mark kiss, jagahoda high or coin kai, identification main iska kaya roll high. To dosto. Upni collection ko ready rakiai, coins ko dehian c observe kijiai or hammer soth, is interesting numismatic journey ka hisabaniai. Magnifying har coin ko close attention c dekiai, kyunki kabhai, ex simple looking coin by upni condition. Strike ya special characteristics kai, waja c collectors ki liai interesting band sakta hai. The 1966 Roosevelt Dime is an interesting and historically important United States 10-cent coin from the early era of modern copper-nickel-clad coinage. The coin carries the familiar inscriptions Liberty, in God we trust, and 1966 on the obverse, while the reverse features United States of America, PLURIBUS UNUM, and one dime. The design was created by John R. Sinek, and the Roosevelt Dime series had already become one of the most recognizable circulating coin series in the United States by this time. One of the first things collectors notice about a 1966 example is the absence of a mint mark. This is completely normal and does not automatically mean that the coin is rare or unusual. During the 1965-1967 period, U.S. dimes were deliberately produced without mint marks as part of the mint's response to the coin shortage and concerns about coin hoarding. The 1966 Roosevelt Dime has a face value of 10 cents, or 10 cents in United States currency. It is a copper-nickel-clad coin, not a silver dime. This distinction is extremely important because many people see an older Roosevelt Dime and assume that every coin from the 1960s contains silver. In reality, regular Roosevelt dimes changed from the earlier 90% silver composition to copper-nickel-clad beginning in 1965. The 1966 regular strike dime consists of a copper core with a copper-nickel outer layer. PCGS lists the composition as 75% copper and 25% nickel over a pure copper center. The coin weighs approximately 2.27 grams, measures about 17.9 millimeters in diameter, and has a reeded edge. The absence of a mint mark on this coin is therefore an important identification feature, but it should not be interpreted as an error. The regular 1966 Roosevelt Dime was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, and the year had a very large production. PCGS reports a mintage of approximately 1.3 billion pieces, while other numismatic references give the total production figure as approximately 1,382,734,540 for the no mint mark 1966 issue. The difference between figures found in different references can result from how production figures are categorized. But the important point for collectors is that the 1966 issue was produced in enormous numbers. Because of this high production, ordinary circulated examples are generally common rather than rare. On the obverse, the coin displays the left-facing portrait of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. Above and around the portrait are the traditional inscriptions Liberty and In God W.E. Trust, with the date appearing below the portrait. Roosevelt's portrait was chosen for the dime because of his association with the March of Dimes and the fight against polio. John R. Sinek designed the Roosevelt Dime, and the same basic design continued for decades. When examining a 1966 coin, collectors should look closely at Roosevelt's portrait, the lettering, the date, and the overall sharpness of the design. Wear on these areas can help determine the approximate grade of a circulated specimen. The reverse presents the classic Roosevelt dime arrangement with a central torch surrounded by an olive branch and an oak branch. The inscriptions, United States of America, EPLURIBUS UNUM, and one dime, identify the issuing nation, motto, and denomination. The reverse is especially useful when evaluating the condition of the coin because wear, scratches, contact marks, and loss of detail can significantly influence collector interest. A well-preserved example with strong details and attractive original surfaces can be considerably more desirable than an ordinary heavily circulated specimen, even though both coins have the same date and basic design. A major point about the 1966 issue is that collectors should distinguish between regular strike coins and special mint set coins. The U.S. Mint did not produce conventional proof sets during this period in the same way collectors are accustomed to seeing today, but special mint sets were produced. Both regular 1966 dimes and special mint set dimes can lack a mint mark, making the finish and strike important when identifying the type. Special mint set examples generally have a distinctive appearance and can show stronger surfaces than normal circulation strikes. Numismatic references list approximately 2.26 million special mint set Roosevelt dimes for 1966, separate from the huge number of regular circulation pieces. The condition or grade of a 1966 Roosevelt dime is one of the most important factors affecting its collector value. A heavily circulated coin may show considerable wear on Roosevelt's hair, cheek, jaw, and the lettering. A coin in very fine or extremely fine condition will retain more design detail, while an about uncirculated coin will have only light signs of circulation. Uncirculated coins are more desirable because they retain their original mint luster and have not experienced normal circulation wear. However, even among uncirculated coins, differences in strike quality, surface marks, tunning, luster, and overall eye appeal can create substantial differences in desirability. The full band's FB designation is another important consideration for advanced collectors. On Roosevelt dimes, full bands refers to the horizontal bands across the torch on the reverse. A strong, complete separation of these bands can make a high-grade coin more desirable. PCGS separately catalogs 1966 Roosevelt dimes with the full bands designation and records certified examples across several mint state grades. This demonstrates that a common date coin can still become interesting to collectors when it has exceptional preservation and a strong strike. The value of a 1966 no-mint mark Roosevelt dime depends heavily on its condition. A normal circulated specimen is generally worth close to its face value, while attractive uncirculated examples can bring a premium. Published price guides show that higher-grade examples can be worth substantially more, particularly when they reach the upper mint state grades. PCGS records a significant auction result for a very high-grade 1966 Roosevelt dime, demonstrating that condition rarity can create considerable value even for a coin that was originally struck in very large quantities. Collectors should also be careful about claims that every 1966 no-mint mark dime is a rare or valuable coin. The lack of a mint mark by itself is not an error for this date. It was an intentional feature of U.S. coinage from this period. A normal circulated 1966 dime should not automatically be advertised as a rare error coin or a million-dollar coin. Instead, its potential collector interest comes from its history, design, condition, possible special mint set characteristics, strong strike, full bands designation, tunning, or genuine mint errors and varieties that can be confirmed by careful examination or professional authentication. Another important feature is the reeded edge, instead of having a smooth edge. The 1966 Roosevelt Dime has numerous vertical reeds around its circumference. The edge can provide useful clues when checking whether a coin has been damaged, altered, or improperly handled. Collectors should examine the edge together with both faces of the coin, rather than judging a coin only from a photograph of the obverse. Original surfaces, natural luster, consistent coloration, and undisturbed details are all useful indicators when evaluating a collectible example. The 1966 Roosevelt Dime is also historically interesting because it represents a major transition in American coinage. The United States had recently moved away from silver in circulating dimes and quarters because of changing economic conditions and the severe coin shortage. The introduction of clad coinage represented an important change in the physical composition of everyday American money. The 1966 dime therefore belongs to an important period in U.S. numismatic history. Although it is not a silver dime, it is still a valuable historical representative of the transition to modern clad coinage. For someone who has found a 1966 Roosevelt dime in an old collection, inherited coins, a jar of change, or a group of foreign and American coins, the best approach is to avoid cleaning it. Cleaning can create scratches and unnatural surfaces that may reduce collector appeal. Instead, examine the coin under good lighting, check both sides carefully, inspect the edge, look for unusual doubling or other possible varieties, and compare the overall appearance with authenticated examples. If the coin appears exceptionally sharp or unusual, professional grading, by a recognized third-party grading service, can help establish its condition and authenticity. In conclusion, the 1966 Roosevelt dime with no mint mark is a fascinating coin from an important transitional period in U.S. coinage. Its no mint mark appearance is normal because mint marks were intentionally omitted during this era. It is a copper-nickel clad dime with a face value of 10 cents, a weight of about 2.27 grams, a diameter of approximately 17.9 millimeters, and a reeded edge. The issue was produced in very large quantities, so ordinary circulated examples are common. However, high-grade specimens, coins with exceptional strike quality, full bands examples, special mint set pieces, and authenticated errors can attract greater collector attention. For collectors, the real story of this coin is not simply whether it is old or whether it has a missing mint mark. Its importance comes from the history behind the design, the transition from silver to clad coinage, the massive coin shortage of the 1960s, the deliberate removal of mint marks, and the continuing popularity of the Roosevelt Dime series. A well-preserved 1966 example can be an excellent addition to a U.S. coin collection, especially when its surfaces, strike, luster, and overall condition are carefully evaluated. It is a great example of how an ordinary-looking coin from everyday circulation can also provide a fascinating window into American monetary history and the evolution of U.S. coin manufacturing. The next up, top two, the 1995 D. Roosevelt dime, is a modern United States 10-cent coin struck at the Denver Mint and identified by the D mint mark on the obverse. It carries the classic Roosevelt dime design that has been used since the series began in 1946. The obverse features the portrait of President Franklin D. Roosevelt along with the inscriptions "Liberty," "In God We Trust," and the date. The reverse displays the torch of liberty surrounded by an olive branch and an oak branch, with the inscriptions "United States of America," "EPLURIBUS UNUM," and "1 dime." The 1995 D is a regular strike circulation issue and was produced in very large numbers, making it a common date in circulated grades but more interesting to collectors when found in exceptionally high condition or with strong full bands detail. PCGS records a mintage of 1,274,890,000 pieces for the 1995 D issue. The denomination of this coin is 10 cents, meaning its original face value is 10 cents. Unlike earlier Roosevelt dimes dated before the composition change, the 1995 D is not a 90% silver coin. It belongs to the modern copper-nickel-clad era. PCGS lists the composition as 75% copper and 25% nickel over a pure copper center. The coin has a weight of approximately 2.27 grams and a diameter of approximately 17.9 millimeters. Its edge is reeded, which is the traditional edge treatment used on U.S. dimes. These specifications are useful for collectors because they can help distinguish an authentic normal example from a coin that may have been damaged, altered, or otherwise unusual. The D mint mark is one of the most important identifying features of this particular coin. It indicates that the dime was struck at the Denver Mint. The mint mark appears on the obverse near the date, to the right of Roosevelt's portrait. The 1995 D should therefore not be confused with the 1995 P dime produced at Philadelphia or the 1995 S-proof issue produced at San Francisco. Numismatic references identify the 1995 D specifically as a Denver issue with a mintage of 1,274,890,000 coins. Because more than 1 billion examples were produced, simply having a D mint mark does not make the coin rare. Its potential premium is much more dependent on condition, strike quality, and special characteristics. The obverse portrait of Franklin D. Roosevelt is one of the most recognizable images in American coinage. Roosevelt faces left, with Liberty positioned around the upper portion of the design, and In God W.E. Trust appearing beside the portrait. The date is placed near the lower right portion of the obverse, with the D mint mark identifying the Denver production facility. The design was created by John R. Sinek, who was responsible for the original Roosevelt dime design. When examining a 1995 D dime, collectors should pay attention to the sharpness of Roosevelt's facial features, hair, lettering, date, and surrounding fields. Heavy circulation can cause these details to become smooth or less distinct. The reverse of the 1995 D Roosevelt dime contains the symbolic torch of liberty in the center. An olive branch and an oak branch appear on either side of the torch. The surrounding inscriptions identify the country and denomination, including United States of America, EPLURIBUS UNUM, and 1 dime. The torch and its horizontal bands are particularly important to advanced Roosevelt dime collectors because the quality of these bands can influence whether a coin qualifies for a full bands FB designation. A sharply struck coin with complete separation across the torch bands can be considerably more desirable than a similar coin with weak or incomplete band detail. One of the most interesting aspects of the 1995 D Roosevelt dime is the difference between an ordinary example and an exceptionally well-preserved example. Because more than 1.27 billion coins were produced, circulated examples are generally not difficult to locate. PCGS notes that lower uncirculated grades are readily available, while higher grades become increasingly difficult to find. According to PCGS, MS65 and higher examples require more careful searching, MS66 examples are scarcer, and MS67 examples are much harder to locate. The highest grade population becomes particularly small, demonstrating an important principle of coin collecting. Mintage alone does not determine rarity. A coin can have a huge original mintage, but become scarce in very high grades because relatively few examples survived with nearly perfect surfaces. The full bands designation deserves special attention when evaluating a 1995 D dime. Full bands refers to strong, uninterrupted horizontal separation on the bands across the torch on the reverse. Collectors who specialize in Roosevelt dimes often seek examples with this feature because it indicates an unusually strong strike and adds another level of quality to a certified coin. PCGS lists the 1995 D in both its standard regular strike category and its full bands category, and describes the full bands examples as significantly scarcer. This means that a common circulated 1995 D and a superbly preserved 1995 D with exceptional full bands can have very different levels of collector interest. The condition of your individual coin is therefore extremely important. A circulated 1995 D dime may have scratches, contact marks, discoloration, flattened details, and loss of original mint luster. An uncirculated example should show no normal circulation wear, although it may still have marks from contact with other coins during production and transportation. Higher mint state grades require increasingly clean surfaces, attractive luster, strong details, and good overall eye appeal. Professional grading services use numerical grades to describe condition, and very high grades can make a substantial difference in collector interest. For a coin that appears unusually sharp and clean, professional certification can sometimes be worthwhile. The 1995 D dime is also interesting because it represents a period when the Roosevelt dime had already been in production for nearly 5 decades. By the 1990s, the series was a familiar part of everyday American commerce, and billions of Roosevelt dimes had circulated throughout the country. The 1995 issue, therefore, provides a good example of late 20th century American circulating coinage. Although it does not have the precious metal composition of pre-1965 Roosevelt dimes, it remains historically meaningful as part of the continuing Roosevelt series. Collectors should be careful when evaluating internet claims about supposedly rare 1995 D dimes. The D mint mark itself is not an error, and the large mintage means an ordinary circulated specimen is generally not a major rarity. A coin should not be described as a valuable error simply because it has a normal D mint mark or because it looks old. Genuine mint errors can be valuable, but they need to be examined carefully and for significant claims. Authenticated by a reputable grading service. Similarly, unusual discoloration, scratches, dents, or environmental damage should not automatically be called mint errors. The coin's reeded edge is another useful feature for identification. The edge consists of raised vertical lines rather than being completely smooth. The U.S. Mint specifications for the modern dime list a reeded edge and a diameter of approximately 17.91 millimeters, with the standard modern dime weighing about 2.268 grams. The small differences between rounded specifications used by different numismatic references are normal and do not indicate different coin types. When checking a 1995 D Roosevelt dime, collectors should inspect the coin under good lighting without cleaning or polishing it. Look first at the date and D mint mark, then examine Roosevelt's portrait and the lettering for unusual doubling or other characteristics. On the reverse, carefully inspect the torch, especially the horizontal bands. Also look at the fields around the devices for unusual die characteristics, cracks, missing details, or other genuine mint-made features. A magnifying glass can be useful, but aggressive scratching, scraping, polishing, or chemical cleaning should be avoided, because such treatment can permanently damage the coin's surfaces and reduce its numismatic appeal. The value of a 1995 D Roosevelt dime can vary greatly depending on its condition and characteristics. An ordinary circulated example generally remains close to its 10-cent face value, while attractive uncirculated examples can command a premium. The greatest premiums are associated with exceptional grades and desirable designations such as full bands. PCGS records an auction result of $400 for an MS-68 example, illustrating how a common date coin can become significantly more valuable when preserved at an extraordinary grade level. PCGS also records a separate high-grade full bands market category for this issue. These auction records should not be interpreted as the guaranteed value of every 1995 D dime. The actual value of a particular coin depends on authentication, grade, eye appeal, market demand, and current sales. An important lesson from the 1995 D Roosevelt Dime is that condition rarity can be more important than original mintage. More than 1.27 billion examples were struck, so the basic coin is abundant. However, most of those coins experienced circulation, contact marks, environmental exposure, or ordinary handling. Only a much smaller portion survived in exceptionally high-grade condition. This is why serious collectors often search rolls, bags, old collections, and mint sets for examples with unusually clean surfaces and strong strikes. PCGS specifically notes that MS-67 examples are much scarcer, and that MS-68 examples are truly scarce. The historical connection to Franklin D. Roosevelt also gives the series additional significance. Roosevelt's image was placed on the dime because of his connection to the March of Dimes and the nationwide fight against polio. The dime consequently became more than simply a denomination of American currency. It became a lasting tribute to one of the most influential presidents of the 20th century and to an important public health fundraising campaign. Every Roosevelt dime, including a modern 1995 D example, continues that visual legacy through Cynic's portrait and the familiar torch and branches reverse. For someone who discovers a 1995 D Roosevelt dime in an old coin jar, pocket change, inherited collection, or group of American coins, the best approach is to preserve it in its original state and investigate its condition carefully. Do not assume that a shiny appearance automatically means the coin is valuable, because a cleaned coin can sometimes look bright while actually being less desirable to collectors. Instead, compare the coin's details, surfaces, strike, luster, and edge with reliable numismatic references. If it appears to have exceptional preservation or unusually strong full bands, professional grading may be considered. In conclusion, the 1995 D Roosevelt dime is a classic late 20th century American circulating coin with a face value of 10 cents, a Denver D mint mark, a copper-nickel clad composition, a reeded edge, a diameter of about 17.9 millimeters, and a weight of approximately 2.27 grams. Its reported mintage of 1,274,890,000 makes the ordinary issue common, but high-grade examples and especially coins with strong full bands can be much more interesting to collectors. The most important thing to remember is that the 1995 D is not automatically rare or extremely valuable simply because it is an older Roosevelt dime. Its real collector potential depends on the individual coin. A normal circulated example may be worth little more than its face value, while an exceptional mint state coin, particularly one with strong full bands and excellent surfaces, can be considerably more desirable. That combination of an enormous original mintage and scarcity at the highest grades makes the 1995 D a useful and interesting coin for both beginning collectors and advanced Roosevelt dime specialists.